Hourly segment is brought to you by The Real Story with Jeannie Ives, powered by Breakthrough Ideas. Sunday evening at 7 on AM 560, The Answer.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. So we're not going to target farm workers who are in this country illegally and hotel workers who are in this country illegally, or we are, or we're not.
We were.
First we were, then we weren't. Oh, well, I mean, not presently, but they were fair game. And then they weren't, and now they are again.
Well, here's Trump last week.
You go into a farm and you look, and people they've been there for 20, 25 years, and they've worked great, and the owner of the farm loves them and everything else, and then you're supposed to throw them out, and you know what happens? They end up hiring the criminals that have come in. So we're going to have an order on that pretty soon, I think. We can't do that to our farmers, and leisure too, hotels.
But now he's walked that back.
Right, because you can't choose one profession over the other when it comes to putting America first and getting out illegals who have committed crimes.
Well, you can actually, but you have to do it and you can do it in a way that makes sense based on America's needs. That is America first to me too. But I think you have to do a formal guest worker program and not just sort of turn a blind eye to immigration law. I think the equal application of the law is the first principle. And then if you want to modify the law to offer considerations for labor needs in particular sectors, then you do it that way. And maybe that's the nature of the discussion. The other piece of this is, well, you know, all those jobs that allegedly Americans don't want to do, it turns out maybe it's a little bit more complicated than the laptop set in North Shore coffee houses thinks. For example, the story out of Omaha where the feds used E-Verify to track down more than 100 illegal aliens using fake IDs and then had box cutters pulled on them. ICE agents had box cutters pulled on them by some of those illegal immigrants working at this food processor, this meat packer in Omaha. It took 100 into custody and, began removal proceedings. So how is Nebraska going to recover? How is this company, Glen Valley Foods, going to stay in business? And this is going to hurt the local economy and so on and so forth. Well, NBC News in quotations. Omaha is trying to forge ahead following the raid's chilling effect on the local workforce and the community at large. And yet then you read the story. Every seat in the waiting area of Glen Valley Foods was occupied with people filling out job applications early Thursday afternoon. 2 days. 2 days after the meatpacking plant became the center of the largest worksite immigration raid in the state of Nebraska so far this year.
People knew there were openings, American citizens, and they went and filled out applications.
So maybe it's a little bit more complicated than the Glencoe art history major thinks when it comes to the job markets, the job markets, as well as the jobs she thinks Americans may or may not want to do. Yeah. By the way, this is a position that was once held, not that he was serious about it, but he held it nonetheless by this right-wing radical. You may remember him. He came out of Hyde Park as a community organizer. This is him in 2008 on a debate stage in the primary for the presidential nomination, talking about border security and E-Verify. 2008.
Undocumented workers come over the borders since George Bush took office. It has become an extraordinary problem. And the reason the American people are concerned is because they are seeing their own economic position slip away. And oftentimes, employers are exploiting these undocumented workers. They're not paying the minimum wage. They're not observing worker safety laws. As president, I will make sure that we finally have the kind of border security that we need. That's step number one. Step number two is to take on employers. Right now, an employer has more of a chance of getting hit by lightning than be prosecuted for hiring an undocumented worker. That has to change. They have to be held accountable. Start shedding some light on the problem, and we can once again be a nation of laws and a nation of immigrants. That's what I intend to do as President of the United States.
Oh boy, that Barack Obama wouldn't be welcome in his party today. Not if he was not that he runs his mouth with that rap today. Of course, he moves with the wind just like Joe Biden did. He's a company man. He's a flim-flammer, front man for the new Marxists. He was then too. But that's where the party felt they needed to be, to the right of George W. Bush, at least perception-wise, when it came to border security. So maybe we can use, much like our friend Frank from Arlington Heights used John Altgeld to make the point about federal judges acting as legislators with their national veto over government policy through injunctions. This was Frank from Arlington Heights' in-depth history. We can use Barack Obama to make the same point to his party about their policies. It's always fun. For more on this and other matters of money and markets, please be joined by Scott the Cow Guy Shellady.
Yeah, let it rip.
A market specialist for Market Day Report, 10:30 to 1, and host of the Cow Guy Close, 1 to 1:30, both at RFD TV. Scott the Cow Guy, thanks for joining us.
Good morning. Thanks for having me on.
You come from a dairy farmer background.
Yes.
Could you tell by the coats? No, I don't.
I could tell by his
world.
I could tell by his nickname is the Cow Guy. That's how I could tell.
I still have your jacket, by the way, that you gave me.
I got one of those too. Yeah, I don't have the bow tie. Yeah.
Happy Halloween.
Right. So what about the back and forth on particular sectors, starting with farming, but maybe including hotel employees, service sector employees too. Trump sort of openly ruminating about some carve-outs based on America's workforce needs. What's your view?
I don't think there's anybody less or more illegal. It's all the same, and I think it's wrong for him to carve anything out. If he felt like that, I don't think he should have said anything. He should have just had a policy where he would go softly with hotels and farms, but he should not have made that a public statement. I think that's wrong. I think if you're illegal, whatever business you're in, you're illegal. It doesn't matter.
Well, but I mean, okay, but like what I was suggesting, you treat everybody here illegally as here illegally, and contrary, everybody legally as legal. But on a go-forward basis, you say we've decided that we need a foreign guest worker program because we don't have enough people to support agribusiness in this country. And so you have a legal guest worker program. It wouldn't be the first time in American history by any stretch. What about something like that? I mean, do you see, I guess the larger question is about sort of the workforce need. Maybe there is, maybe there isn't, just like maybe there isn't the need for a guest worker program for the meatpacking industry that some people otherwise might have thought.
Well, I mean, obviously it hit close to home with us because we did have a farm, but there is a program and there are work visas for that. If that needs to be expanded, go ahead and expand it. But there's already a solution sitting there. It just needs to be worked better. That's not that big of a deal to me, really. I mean, there are a lot of workers, seasonal workers that come across and do the jobs that they like doing, apparently. But when you bring up the Glencoe person versus the meatpacking, I don't think AI can take away her job faster because it's not going to take away the meatpacker jobs. So that was absolutely ridiculous, and I'm glad to see that the people stepped up and wanted to do those jobs. But I think that we have a solution there. They just need to work it better. I mean, there's a ton of H-1B2 visa, whatever it is.
Yeah, right.
We just need to make it a better program. But there's an answer. It's not that hard.
All right. On the impact of hostilities in the Middle East, the Israeli airstrikes on Iran nuclear sites, a lot of hand-wringing about the potential impact on the price of oil and the price of gas by extension. We're not seeing it yet, but what's your concern about ongoing unrest in the Middle East?
Well, that's a huge question, and I have to answer it for another network after this phone call. But I think the bottom line is this. I think the world was in a much worse place during the Cuban Missile Crisis. We haven't had anything like this in a long time. Everybody's got their knickers in a twist, obviously, and there are some very serious things happening. I'm not going to try to lessen that load. But I also do believe that this can be contained. The oil market will have a hiccup, but it won't be forever. If you go back over time to see what the markets have done, specifically oil and stocks, when we do have things like this happen, there's a 3-week problem and there's a 3-week recovery. But I'm right now, unless China and Russia get involved, I think the rhetoric is probably overblown. But that doesn't mean that can't happen down the road. But right now, as we speak, and I'm not even quite sure, honestly, what the real risk of Iran is. I really need to know more about that. I'm not an expert on Iran, but I also felt as though, well, no, I'm saying I've learned my lesson, because I thought Iraq was supposed to be a big risk too, and that turned out to be a bunch of nothing. So I want to know a little bit more about Iran before we go off the rails here and really think that there is some sort of massive danger to humanity, because we were told that Iraq was a massive danger to humanity once before as well.
Yeah, it is a little bit different. We've got a little bit more of an evidentiary basis on Iran and a little bit more of a track record. And but I mean, that's fair. I wanted to fold in now sort of the larger, since they had that G7 summit up in Alberta yesterday, and two-tier Keir Starmer and Trump signed a trade deal, or another framework for a trade deal between the U.S. and the U.K. What's your handle on where the tariff negotiations and the trade framework agreements are at this stage, and what sort of impact they're having on American businesses?
The American businesses and the American markets are banking on the rhetoric still right now. There hasn't really been anything. The rubber really hasn't met the road yet, Dan and Amy. We haven't. I think the market's slowly but surely going to grow increasingly more uncomfortable with the fact that we still have all these people lined up to do deals. We still have all these people lined up to do deals. Well, we need to see some. We need to see some hard evidence. Now, we are with a trade surplus with Great Britain, so that's not really going to make the books look a lot better, right?
Yeah.
No. So, I mean, there needs to be some critical ones, and obviously that would be China and Europe. Until that happens, I mean, that can be very good for the market. That could be very good for American business. But we have to see that done. Now, I get it. These things are multiple pages long, and it's not that easy to do overnight. But how long can you keep going on the checks in the mail,
Right. I mean, it's one thing to you get the feel good, like the announcement last week that Trump saying he and she have a deal that just needs to be ratified. And that's great. So we're not going to see escalation. We're not going to see trade wars. That's the tone of what we're hearing from the administration. But businesses in the real world and markets that represent business activity in the real world need to see the numbers, right?
Right. I used to run a technology company, and we'd send out the salespeople to speak to some big potential customers. And when they come back, I do get a debriefing, right? And every time they would always say the same thing. We had a great meeting. Okay, well, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to pay you with a great meeting, okay? That's what we're going to do. Let's go downstairs to the bar and have a beer and pay with a great meeting. All right? It means jack to me. I need to see some money.
Yeah.
And I think that's slowly but surely America's waking up to that.
Yeah, okay. All right. But you're still generally optimistic, if nothing else, based on the rhetoric and the movement, even if the movement is just rhetorical.
Yeah, I mean, I'm still 75, 80%, positive. I probably was more before, but it gets a little long in the tooth. I know they take time, and this Great Britain one is really kind of like kissing your sister. But we got to move ahead. We need to see some real ones, like I think Europe and China, with what the market's really waiting for.
Right.
Do you think with the turmoil going on in Iran and Israel that the barrel oil prices are going to go to $150 a barrel? That's what I keep reading.
No, I mean, overnight on Sunday night, the Twitter sphere was alight with people, saying it's going to go up to 100. But I have a feeling that they were all long oil already, so that didn't work out. That didn't work out for them. And I think that the world's a little bit of a different place today there'll be obviously some price spikes here and there, but I don't think that's going to happen. That would be probably the most inflationary thing that could happen to us right now, if possible. Right now we're $1.50 better, which was basically taking back yesterday's losses, but still only around 71 bucks a barrel. So right now it's not too concerning. And if it was, the markets will tell you before the media will. Believe me.
I'm reading a lot about, like Bloomberg, and this is a piece lamenting this development. Big business is abandoning its climate goals. And then I read that Walmart, Nestle, Mondelez, and Mars are among some major companies that have recently left the U.S. Plastic Pact, according to Sustainability Magazine, which is a great read.
Oh, yeah, I want the copy back on my desk.
Falling short of the Plastic Pact's 2025 circular economy for plastics goals, they're withdrawing their participation to focus on more attainable sustainability initiatives and blah, 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 blah. So they're moving away from having Greta Thunberg be their energy policy advisor.
I don't know how these people can get away from that. It's plastics, Ben. Plastics. I don't know if anybody remembers The Graduate, but
plastics.
That's what it sounds like to me. I mean, I didn't even know there was a council. So whatever. And I can't stand the word sustainability. When I hear sustainability, my ears turn off right away. Anyway.
Yeah, but I mean, corporate America reversing course on all of their ESG and DEI. I mean, that is something, and that is material, isn't it?
100%, and it should have happened. I mean, we were going down a wrong road, and DEI is garbage. A lot of this wind and solar is garbage. I mean, everybody's got the idea that they want to have clean air and clean water. I get it. We all do. But, you can't rely on some things. There's no way you can rely on wind and solar. We have to use coal and gas, and that's going to be something that's going to be with us. So that's how we got here. And that's why we're a rich country, and we're a rich country because of our energy. And rich countries have great schools and great hospitals because of that. If you want to abandon the horse that got you to this party, then I don't think you're very bright.
Yeah. Well, it's nice to see them, as I said, abandoning Greta Thunberg for Billy Bob Thornton. That's progress.
It is a step up, yes.
Scott the Cow Guy, Shellady Market Specialist, Market Day Report, 10:30 to 1. Host of the Cow Guy Close, 1 to 1:30, both at RFD TV. Scott the Cow Guy, thank you as always.
All right, see you guys. Thanks.
Thank you. And he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
Listen to podcasts of Dan and Amy from the AM 560 mobile app. Download it today at 560theanswer.com/mobile.
Wesley Financial Group is not a law firm.
Hi, I'm Chuck McDowell, the timeshare cancellation guy and founder of Wesley Financial Group. And I want to set the record straight. I am not an attorney. I've never wanted to be an attorney.